before we got started. So we've got Kelly, who's going to be our weekend host, and we're fortunate to have Saima Akram from Pakistan.
Hi.
And I've known Saima for a little bit. We've talked over the years, and it's
Yes,
great to find old faces who you can now do new things with, right?
yes, exactly. Yes.
That's great. So I want everybody to know chat's open. We depend on chat to direct us and to
Uh,
really, be able to be responsive to what people are doing and seeing. I've invited a few other people to what we're considering open chat, and Simo was the first one to jump on. So,
oh, yeah.
so Simo, why don't you give us a little bit of who you are and what you think of the show and, how you're evolving.
Okay, okay. I'm Saima. I'm from Rawalpindi, Pakistan, and I've been in IT industry for a good long time now. For over 14 years, I have worked in a software house as the director of business development. And last October, after finishing my job, I have now started my own little startup. It's an IT agency, and we provide website design and development services. And my LinkedIn journey started just over 2 years ago. I was on LinkedIn for a very long time, but I wasn't really very serious into it. The serious business came post Corona when we went fully work from home. Before that, it was a regular office job, and after this, joining into LinkedIn, it was something really new for me in a way that I didn't really knew how LinkedIn actually worked. For me, also. Like most of the people, I thought that it was a job portal and stuff, and I wasn't really looking in for a job, so I really did not took it very seriously before that. But this time around, when I explored it, it really opened my eyes in a very different way. And I would say I've been very lucky to have found Donald and some more people around on LinkedIn in the very earlier days who really opened my eyes that what LinkedIn was actually about, and not just just another search engine and for job search and all that. And I've been very lucky that he taught me so many things, and it helped me into building my LinkedIn journey, LinkedIn stuff. Uh, in terms of numbers, if it really matters, I would say just over 1.5 years ago, I was at 465 connections and maybe around the similar number of followers. And now it has jumped across 12, above 12K connections and above 25K followers. And it has helped me generate business, which was the main point for me. So for people like me, working from Pakistan, working remotely, and providing digital services around the world, it has been a very big game changer for me. And in coming days, also, I will now like to jump my game above above that level. Until now, I have been very lucky to have been following Donald and taking advices from me, and he has always been welcoming me in whatever I'm doing. And I really look forward to even learn more from him and get to know around people around the world. It has been very a blessed journey so far, and I hope it gets better in coming days as well.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. What I find is you really have to look at it like making friends, right? If you just make friends and do friendly things to friendly people, you get to know them as friends, right? And I got to know Sima because Sima followed me. And anybody who contributes to somebody should be recognized and supported because they're offering something, right? And when you have people who offer it first, they start the cycle. It becomes a proactive interaction, or you find out you're knocking on a door that nobody's home at, right? And you start supporting somebody who will come back and at least appreciate it or thank you. And when we, it's kind of funny how everything kind of comes full circle. And to Andrea's point, the smile wins. And Sima, your smile, your positive energy, your enthusiasm has lighted up the show from the beginning. So it's almost, well, I shouldn't have said Sima will be back. Whenever you're in Pakistan or anywhere, there's always technical challenges, not always, but can be expected. But, to what I was saying, since we got this LinkedIn Live show, you make friends and you continue to build friendships with those friends. But at a certain point, you'd like to work together with them. And you don't really have something at the time that fits kind of where they are or what they have. So it's okay, let's keep thinking and maybe put something together. So when this LinkedIn Live show started to show its value and beauty, it was so easy to go back to a friend, just like you might have, something and you wanted to share it with something or a compliment. Hi, Simon. You didn't. I'm glad you're back. So I was just saying is when this show showed up and I saw Simon supporting it, and then I've been reaching out to all of these old friends who are really watching this already and now wanting to appear on it. And like Heather, Louise Vesey, and I talk about her, and people talk about, well, that's a lot of connections that don't mean anything. She earned her 300,000 connections, and she's doing beautiful things at a later stage and being able to do it wholeheartedly. So she's going to come on next week. We have Raquel, who's got her own show, about 30,000 connections. So the point is to get back to Simon's story is about a week and a half ago, I said, we decide to have a Zoom call.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And on all my Zoom calls, there is no time frame, right? So I don't get a feeling. And I think I go an hour and 40 minutes. Last night I had an unbelievable call with a lady named Jillian. That went for 2 hours, and she was in Rwanda. But Simon, what's so beautiful about this is you being in Pakistan. You have the same or better opportunity to share this message with so many people peer-to-peer.
Exactly.
And this week was International Women's Day.
Yes.
Right?
And it perfectly complements that.
Well, and that's what this show, I mean, I had no intention and I've done nothing to direct audience, but this is about a 95% women populated collaborative support group. And it's not everybody's welcome. We're totally, and you're a perfect example of how this cuts across boundaries, culture, thoughts, and more importantly, not going through institutions to get to what you want, but be able to go peer to peer. So Kelly, you've been experiencing this. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, this is just so great. I just saw that Christine popped in too. And I have to say, when I posted this last night saying, hey, come spend the weekend with me, I'm going to be on. And Christine was like, you can never get too much Kelly Steinicke. And I chuckled to myself because I thought, I'm so and pasting that and sending it to my entire family. And they'll get a kick out of it because they'll agree. But it was just super funny. I love everything that is happening. And, I mean, I just can't say enough about the support, the connections. Because they're true. It's not the matter of, I've got another person that's following me, or I've got another connection, so I have a number. It's like quality over quantity. And I really adore that. And just the real genuine support for one another. Because like you were saying too earlier, Dawn, is regardless of where you are in the world, I don't care what background, we're all the same, and we all need support and to feel safe and to feel love. And I think, the more having people on, I mean, I love that it's 9 p.m. where you are, and you came on the last minute to be with us, which is so awesome. Um, and great to have the support of everyone and watching it grow and
Yes.
just, you know, and I say this, probably the same thing many times on the show, is it's almost like it's this pre-vetting process. Like, you know, anyone who's in here, it's like, I've got to connect with them. I've got to have a conversation with them. Like you said, Dawn, at the end of the day, this is LinkedIn and we're all looking for connection, true connection that will hopefully we can do business with, because I want to do business with people that I enjoy being around and that I like to work with. And then what better way to find it and creating the relationship first, you know, and this is another thing I know we've talked a lot about is it seems old school to say that we're doing human connection anymore because everything is done through the inbox these days and not human to human. And I think people are craving it, and it's awesome to see it happening and the connections and how it ripple effects to everyone. Like I will say again, I think I said this last time, Dawn, last week, was like, I challenge anyone to come here and not leave feeling better when they arrived, right?
Right.
Oh, for sure. And we've got Christy that
Hi.
Chris showed up. So, you know, this is so cool because when people come on, they know what to expect now. And the show continues to evolve by the day, and everybody's showing some value or benefit received every day that is like another brick in the wall that eventually really brings strength. So what do you think, Saima?
Exactly, Donald. And I would add a little more about the connections things and the human connections things, that no matter how digitalized we go, at the end of the day, a human needs a human touch.
Yes.
We need to be human first, correct? People still buy from people. They don't buy from a machine, actually. So machines are there. The technology is there to support us. It is here to assist us. But at the end of the day, we all need to be human with each other.
Amen.
And we need to show that human connection with each other. And this technology, thanks to it, blessed to everyone who has done their part building these stuff, that now it doesn't matter if I'm from Pakistan and you guys are from Canada or US or wherever we are. We can get to know each other. We can get in touch with each other, and we can communicate with each other. We can understand each other much better. And just if there was any mist between us before this time, now is the time that we can all get it away and clear the picture with each other, and show each other what we are made of, what we are actually made of, and what we can do to make a stronger community and to help each other and to uplift each other.
Yes.
There is, I would say, there is no competition between any of us or between any humans. There shouldn't be any competition. We are here. We are counterparts, and we can support each other and help each other, and all of us can make it up there.
Amen.
So yeah.
So that, go ahead.
I was just saying amen to that. I mean, it's so beautiful. Beautiful message.
And I think it's so from the heart and genuine, and that's what makes the difference. There's so many sharp people who can say the right things at the right time to the right people, but they can't deliver because they never had to. You know, they work superficial things and superficial ways, and some people, they don't think, they don't question, right? They just follow like sheeple. Now, with that said, Christine's here. Christine, what's going on, and what do you think about today's show?
I just wanted to be on the same show as Kelly, first of all. And is it Saima?
Yes.
Say hi.
This is that.
Saima?
That's my daughter Elizabeth in the background.
Hi,
Hi,
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Hi. She's eating. Is it Saima? I'm sorry, I didn't catch because I got on later. Okay. Well, I was just gonna respectfully disagree in some ways about the personal, agree and disagree, because I'm writing a paper on marketing and data analytics and how it's affecting us. And I'm using my daughter as part of the example, actually, because she's obsessed with Nike. The Nike store, the Nike apps like track how much you run, when you have to swap out your shoe, just everything every activity that you're in. It's a very like I think retail spaces are more for entertainment now, whether it's the Apple store or
Yeah.
Nike. They have all these simulations. You could design your own shoes on the app and
Yes.
there. So that's maybe more of I don't know how much that is of a personal touch, but I find as the generations get younger, the less and less personal
Yeah.
things are. And I don't want to be again dystopian about it, but I almost feel like that need for community that makes us human may eventually evolve. Like we might genetically change, right? Because of the environment. But yeah, so I'm with you. I'm here because I like getting
Human
like all the positive
connection.
with that.
Human
Yeah, that it's human and that it's personal and that it's whatever we do here, we support people and we get loved up and we get to see the person behind the picture and what their personality is. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, and of course, everybody knows the pandemic just, whatever. But it was a death knell for a lot of retailers, but it also hit the gas on platforms such as this that we're participating in right now. So.
I mean, yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of COVID, which seemed crazy to me. I was like, wow, that's been 3 years ago. It seems longer, but then part of it seems like it was yesterday. And then it seems like, because the several of the calls that I was on, people were commenting on, I remember where I was 3 years ago when this happened. And it's like, it's so strange to think what we went through. But 3 years ago, if you would have said, and I probably to any of us, truthfully, would have been like, oh, we're going to be doing live video or live audio on the regular. I would have been like, oh, heck no. Like, I'm not doing that. I didn't even like doing video conferencing calls for, with global organizations that I worked with. And I would have to meet, with like our team in Singapore on an occasion. And I didn't even like that because the angles always seemed weird. And you just feel weird when you're on camera. But I feel like what came of it with all the Zoom calls, because that was the only way we could connect with people, is that it made it all so much more comfortable. And I do like the fact of, when I have calls with my family or my friends, being able to do it on video, it does make it feel much more personal. And it's so not the same anymore. And again, I'm like, from the beginning of the year, if you would have said I would have been on, Dawn's show probably, gosh, I don't know, 20 times probably at least. I'm guessing I would have probably still said no way. But like, I just love it so much. It feeds me so much great energy to see everybody, watch it grow, supporting one another, the connections that I've made. And, to go to your point, Christine, of what you said about our youth is, everybody knows I mentor at-risk youth here local in Phoenix. And it's amazing watching these kids. I mean, they're like this. I mean, they never have their heads up. Although when I'm with my youth, the phone is not to be around. It is like, we're here together and we are going to be present and with one another. And that's what this is, right? It's just reminding us of how great it is to have connection with a human being and not with a device. I think this is so wonderful. And I'm so proud to be a part of it and so honored to be a part of it and so blessed to have met so many awesome people. What are your thoughts, Dawn?
I think you're spot on. And I have to pinch myself, like I say most days when I wake up, to know that this has blossomed into something that was totally organic. There was no marketing to it. There was no salesy anything to it. It was just really something that people needed enough that they were willing to attach to it long enough to create something that was heartfelt and better than a lot of other experiences in their life, because no one has more time than anybody else. It's how you invest it. And if you say this really feeds my soul, and that's why people go to the gym, because when they get out of it, they feel so much better than when they went in, and they're happy to have been there, but they weren't that excited to go there.
That's so true.
And to your example of COVID, when it happened, no one knew what it was, how long it would be here, you know, and if you would have told people it's 3 years and we're still, honestly, I saw yesterday, we're still losing 400 people a day in America. That's 12,000 people. That's gone. That doesn't say the long. So I don't want to get into that part of it because it can really bring you down. And
Yes.
the point is the reason I say that is if you compare it to what we're doing and what's transpiring online, and online
Yes.
attracted billions of people. With LinkedIn Live, I mean, with LinkedIn, there's 900 million people. So I think people went to an extreme, which was depersonalization, dependency, like Christine says, on high tech and CIMA, and it's going to save me time and effort. But what they don't understand, they're not independent of it. They're part of a huge mob who's overwhelming people with misinformation, bad information,
Yes.
salesy information, and then people, it's like when you eat the same thing over time and it just doesn't taste any good, your appetite for something else is huge. And I think there's a reservoir that needs to be filled just basically on the need to get back to personalization, because everybody who's been here remembers what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, in my case, it even goes longer, when everything was person to person. Nothing could happen unless you met with a person. You could have a phone call, right? But at a certain point, people who just stopped at a phone call versus it was so much fun going to a trade show in Vegas or Chicago, you know, and there'd be 3 days of booths and 3 nights of people taking you out and going to new places. And, you know, I just love that. And now it's like a ghost town because the cost is prohibitive. It was already on the downswing before this happened. And this disrupted ways of people meeting together, being together, sharing together. And that's what this is doing. And it's only going to get bigger and better in this regard because we're on a viral network. It's like sitting on dynamite. You know, if a person with 300,000 connections says, hey, you got to check out this show, we could get 20,000 viewers tomorrow.
Yes.
Then how much of those would actually stay and build? So we're at the front end. You know, I was talking to a lady yesterday who's really successful in video. And she actually, her phrase is easy peasy video, and she promotes it. She couldn't believe I was doing it every day. She does once a week and doesn't know how she can keep it up. You know, but that's the challenge, is how do you do something better, faster, and easier than anybody else? And then
I just have to say that when Elizabeth was just here, she's like, wait, Mom, look, I got a Nike shirt on, Nike shorts. She said, I even have Nike underwear. That's how Nike obsessed she is. And I was going to say that my own behavior, because I used to, you know, I'm not a total spring chicken or anything, and I used to like shopping. I hate it now. I cannot tolerate being in the store. I just don't like it. I'd rather just for ease and convenience, you know, I've ordered a bed from my bed, you know, just because I don't want to be bothered, you know, even stuff I thought I would never purchase online because I had to try it out first. I'm like, you know, too bad. And everything comes to our house, like Instacart, whatever. Not that I don't leave the house. I'd rather leave the house to take my dog for a walk or spend, you know, do it for some other reason. But I'm surprised, just examining myself and my own behaviors, you know, how much has changed. And I think I shared another time that COVID was, I know that it was a downtime for some people. For me, it was flipping awful and so stressful because I had at the time, you know, I had kids, but they're pretty young, you know, even as young, still young, yes, still, yeah, but as young as second grade. And that's, you know, that's tough to try to educate children and do your job. And I had this job where they demanded that our cameras be on. It was an invasion of privacy. Like, talk about, oh, you don't want to be, well, I had no choice. Like 24/7, I had to be accessible all the time, keystrokes measured, in prison, really, you know. I don't even know, like, there should be laws, right? And it was a complete lack of trust. And the company I'm with now, and again, they were treating professionals like this, not, not not even total
Well,
front line, right?
We were like making the metrics up as they went too. Like, what did success mean when someone was doing work? Like you're saying, tracking the keystrokes, because I know some folks that had a very
Busy
similar
work.
situation.
Yeah, they thought salespeople in particular wouldn't be applying themselves or whatever. So it was just, so I'm working less hours, but I'm contributing so much more to my company. I really am. I'm making a difference. I'm making an impact. I'm, like we've talked about a billion times, but I'm getting my MBA too, so I have space to improve myself and contribute even more to my company by taking off the cuffs or whatever else and just letting me, and just trusting me to do the right thing, and treating me like an adult. And thank God. And and they found me on LinkedIn, my current employer, and they've been remote for a long time, so they know how this all works, and they know that the results are great. So why, so they were totally prepared for COVID. So it's like night and day from where I was to where I am right now. I feel like I've taken too much of the floor, and Seema is here. I got on, and it's but anyway, I'll hit mute for a second.
I was just going to chime in on the fact of, one of the things that, technology in general, not just from 2020, I just think it exacerbated the situation of employers feel that you should be accessible 24/7. I mean, I've worked with organizations all over the place, and some of them, I'm like, don't be texting me on a Sunday evening and expect me to do something. Like, this can wait till Monday. But granted, now I didn't do that until I've worked my way up and I can stand my ground. But I felt like you've got to train them how to treat you, because if you're someone who always replies, always responds, then your expectation is that you're
no, it doesn't. That's not like my employer at the time said they got like management on the phone, or whoever was above me said, this is the new expectation. This is our new way of communicating. If you do not answer, there are consequences. You don't want to work here? Goodbye. It's COVID. Good luck finding a job. That was the environment. There was no.
That's horrible.
I can't even, but that's how bad it was. I'm not exaggerating. And I didn't even have time to look for something else. So again, thank God I was found right here.
Where are you located, Christine?
What's that?
Where you located?
Where are you located?
Where do I live?
Yeah.
I live in Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah, it's
I
in America. Yeah.
I can't believe that organizations there also can do so. Even we didn't have such experience from here.
Yeah, they preyed on people's fear and desperation and how they're going to keep food on the table, and it was very mentally, I would say, abusive. I don't know what the word is. And
feels abusive.
They furloughed a bunch of people. I was praying I was going to be one of the ones furloughed, but I wasn't. And then so the workload was even. So if you were better, it was almost worse because you got stuck doing even more. Right. And it set me on a journey of personal transformation, though, in a lot of ways, because I shared the last time I was on that I collapsed in my kitchen, and that was like the universe telling me, yo, my body and the universe telling me like something is out of whack in this situation. And so anyway, but that was then. This is now. It's totally night and day.
Thank goodness it's over.
Yes, there definitely were organizations, and I did work with an organization that the employer actually felt like you should feel privileged that I'm giving you a job. And I was just sort of like, and granted, I was a leadership coach for this organization that I'm referring to. And I was just kind of like, man, that's not the way to approach your team. Like, you need to be empathetic and compassionate, like support them. But it was fascinating to watch what happened to people, because exactly like you said, Christine, like when people get in their space of fear, they do crazy things. And leadership, I think people who were in leadership positions, it shows you who you are when you have some kind of, trauma or drama, whatever you want to say, to be a true leader and see how they respond. I feel like the ones that really rose and did the best were the ones that did come from compassion and empathy. And the ones that went to the place of like, well, you should be grateful that you're even getting a job. I thought that was, interesting to watch it happen, but it was so loud at the time. Like you could totally see which people were, true leaders in the sense of, hey, they under stress, they know how to respond to staff and be, and I will say an example or lead by example, as opposed to the ones that went, completely into their fear, which I can understand, but man, came down so hard on employees, and that did make it rougher for a lot of people. And it also, let's be honest, it reignited LinkedIn. I don't know what all the trends are, but I know for me and many other people, we all came back here during that time. One, I got laid off, so I had to come back looking for work and being like, oh, good luck as a marketing executive during that time getting a job, because it was not happening. And that's why I refer to myself now as I'm an accidental consultant, because I needed to take control of, I couldn't count on getting a job. I was unemployed for, 8 months. And then that felt like an eternity during that time. But it also, reintroduced LinkedIn to me in a different way, where I was like, I haven't really leveraged it in the past. And a big part of it was because I worked in financial services, capital markets, private equity. So a lot of things that I did, I couldn't post anyways, because compliance and legal, I wasn't allowed to post a lot of things. So I had a profile so people could see. So when, organizations were doing due diligence on our products, here's my background, here's my resume. And really that's all it was, I think, was an online resume. And I think everyone now has been looking at a shift of, their profiles have more personality in them. Everybody's changed them for the most part. And of course, now with the LinkedIn Lives and the connecting, and people are really looking to connect. And I think it is because we're all looking for different ways to get our lives to feel like, I think, more secure again. And, Donna, you and I have talked about this offline in the sense of, I want to have multiple revenue streams now. I'm not looking for just one. This is my solution. This one job or this one client is my one and only. I'm thinking about business in a completely different mindset since 2020, which does make me grateful for it. And granted, I am someone, I will always find the silver lining, because I do believe there's always something great that comes out of something awful. What are your thoughts, Don?
Well, I think I'm all for everybody's thoughts that are bringing what they do to the table here. But I can go back to when I really got serious about LinkedIn, which was right at the same time, coincidentally, as COVID was taking off. And I was knowledgeable enough that I could see what changed on LinkedIn, because for all of the challenges that were placed on working people outside of LinkedIn, the total opposite happened on LinkedIn. For about 6 weeks or so, everybody was giving everything away for free.
Yes.
It's like, I got a course. If you want it, it's free. I've got time. If you want it, I'm here for you. It sprung into action. All the supporters reached out to either the people who needed the support or were novices. And really, it was the most beautiful place in the world, because everybody was demonstrating their generosity, right? Right before that, everybody was trying to make money, right? Or typically had a program, had a course, had something. After that, it all fell apart. And then it sprung up this way. And then slowly it went back to monetization and a lot of things. But that time gave people so much friendship.
Yeah.
Because in times when you're isolated and insulated, see, right now you can leave your front door, right?
Yeah.
You can go shopping, you can go to a restaurant, you can do anything. Back then, it's like, hey, put your. I remember people were going through the video of how to unpack groceries, right? There was a video that this doctor got 2 million views, and it's like, well, when you bring it, keep it in the garage until you can wash off your bags and all this stuff, and pretty soon people are just like, if someone said put your left leg up in the air and hop around for 3 minutes, they would have done that too, because it's like, I'll do anything, because it was such a mystery. And the point is, when you find out,
Yeah.
I think, and that's the key, and Sima kind of shows it, when anytime you can look at a tragic past and still
Yes.
have a laugh to go with it, right?
Yes.
Not that it minimized
Exactly.
what it was, but it's like, hey, it was so silly looking back, but no one knew what they were
How
dealing
to
with.
do it. Yes.
But you know what worked to build Sima from 400 to 22,000. I went from 5,000 to 25,000 in like 3.5 months, because that was the time when everybody was pitching in. So I would just say, hey, let's get together. I tagged everybody. I congratulated everybody. I had the top 5. At that time, I had the same post for 3 months, and it never did worse than the day before. And it was only because what I learned on LinkedIn when I got here, at least someone told me, there's only 3 things you can offer on LinkedIn. That's entertainment, education, and inspiration.
Hmm.
Right? Or you can offer a little bit of each. So I said, well, I'll do all 3. Up with the five quotes of the day, to inspire people. I came up with the 5 LinkedIn tips every day to educate people. And I came up with my 5 favorite connections, and I profiled the 5 people. And I did that every day, and it just worked. And too many people on LinkedIn, they think, oh, this is old. Someone's going to remember it was yesterday. When you get 12 comments out of 900 million, believe me, it's not old. And believe me, the 12 people need 2 or 3 times to understand what you were talking about. And that's why they say, your content should be based on 1 or 2 pillars. And the pillars are, what are you most into? And that's all you talk about when you talk about something, right? Simon, what do you think? You said yes.
Yeah, I said yes because I can totally resonate with your words. And as I was building my profile and in this LinkedIn journey I have been through, and the content you were sharing, the 5 free tips per day, it helped people like me who were newer to this LinkedIn version, and who were so reluctant and so afraid that maybe my content, what I'm posting, is not worth it, and maybe I should stop posting, and maybe I should get to some paid course, some very heavy. Maybe I need a very heavy coaching just to write up, just to learn how I curate my content and what type of content I should make that people will get to see. But you made it possible for people like me that I don't need to worry about what everybody is going to think about my content. As long as my content is to the point of my subject,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't need to worry about the sales on the very first day. I don't need to worry about that out of 900 million on this platform. Uh, yes, not 900 million are going to see my content, but uh, as long as I'm making a contribution every day or weekly or bi-weekly or tri-weekly, it will make me better every day. And if I stop today, it will simply do one thing. It will keep me away. It will throw me away one more day. But if I keep up showing, I may be able to educate myself. I may be able to educate someone else through my knowledge, whatever knowledge I have right now. And tomorrow, my content can get better than yesterday.
That's right.
So,
Simon, I think you
yeah.
make such an amazing point, because I think so many people And we have talked about this before. They're so afraid of how people are going to respond to what you do.
Yes.
And it's like,
and
so
it's a huge hurdle. It's a huge hurdle, especially for people who are not professional copywriters, content writers, or digital writers, and all that. So it is, or they are coming from another background like yourself. You said that your background was you were into some job that you could not post much of the details details of your work on the LinkedIn because of many other factors as well. So, so for people, for us who were not professionally a content writer, it was a kind of a mental block that maybe what I'm going to write, it may not be worth it. So people like Don helped us that no, we do not need to be perfect at the very first day. We have to start with whatever we have in our mind right now, and we can keep getting better every day. And nobody is perfect at whatever they do. Many people get better with time, and this thing has helped me pretty much, that you need to be consistent in what you are doing. Yes, you can keep on checking on your strategy. Yes, you can review your strategy every now and then. You can see where you may be going wrong. That's okay, but you should not stop. You should not stop trying, and you should not stop your brain. Tell your brain that no, I can't do this. This is not for me.
Yes,
Everything is for us, as long as we are positive to do it, as we are putting our efforts into it, as long as we are taking a step every day, we are taking a step forward. We are not stopping our step, and we are not going backwards. We are still moving forward. It's still a step forward. Even if it is one step, it is still a step forward, not backwards.
Love it.
So, Kelly, go ahead.
Sorry, it just reminded me of a saying that it's like, and I can't remember who said it. I think it might be Henry Ford. And Don, you'll probably know this. Whether you think you can or you can't, or whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Well, that's true, because
yes,
exactly. What was so cool, and that's why I'm so much into collaboration, is I see the power of it. When I was doing my tagging, I was tagging 150 people a day, every day, and I was including them. I was bringing them in, and I was showing them by example what I do, they can do, and do it easier, faster. My whole thing, I mean, right now, I do 3 posts a day, a newsletter, a LinkedIn Live, a poll. I tag 140 people, and it takes me less than an hour. Because I do a lot of repurposing, and when the template is right, rewrite the template, you optimize the timing, right? So here's today's guest, here's tomorrow's guest. Tomorrow I'll change that one more step, but you see, it allows people to get comfortable. If you go into
Speaking of getting comfortable, I just realized I have a vacuum on one side. And I was like, the vacuum doesn't belong there. And then my light switch my light isn't working, and I was fooling around with and it's exposed. And Kelly has a nice background with her bedroom or whatever. But as we've seen, I've gone on looking like I was hit by a bus, which I don't always want to present that image out there to the world. But whatever, that's how comfortable, Don makes you feel.
I mean, this is
yes and no. And then I had a coworker, I don't know if he saw this, right? I'm not sure who sees these things, right? And he's like, I'd be careful about how much you put out there, because not everybody has your best interests, and not this and that. But I'm at the point where sometimes I don't care. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I was going to say overshared, but I shared when I was on last week, a lot. A lot of personal stuff. And I did it because so much stuff is stigmatized in the workplace too. So it's so hard to know what platform is this appropriate on, what is it not. But this is it's real life, and there's a lot of people like me, and you could have had an addiction and you could have had a mental illness and you still can be successful. You can still accomplish your goals and your dreams, and you could still be a, and I said this before, every human being is sick and it's just a matter of degree, right? Nobody is a perfectly mentally well person. And as Don has said many times, it's the people who get help. Like there's a lot of untreated isms out there, a lot of untreated mental illness out there, right? So maybe somebody sees the show and they get, they feel like, okay, this person did it, I can do it. Or, like it's not the end of the world. But I just was surprised, like he was giving me a word of, warning or something. Again, I have no idea if he viewed this or not. Yeah, but it got me thinking. And there's also an element of anonymity. So meaning like with certain recovery programs. So I don't want to position myself as a guru or I have all the answers or, and it's about attraction and not promotion and not trying to gain a profit from some of this stuff, because it's also the traditions of certain programs. So, I want to stay in line with that. Right. So it does get very confusing about what line to, where are the lines, and it gets
I think that, what everyone finds refreshing about anyone, I know I do, is just being authentic. Mm-hmm. Like it's one thing I think, and my personality is, if you tell me to edit myself, I'm probably going to go in the opposite direction. And I'll be like, oh, really? You want to see me unedited? I'll show you. Because I don't feel there's any shame in being who you are. Like who you are is who you are, and love it. Some people won't like it, and that's okay. Who cares?
The last time I was on a business trip and somebody was asking me to drink, I was like, oh, I'm already uninhibited enough. I don't need that help. Like, it's just, I don't need that push. But yeah, it just gave me a lot of food for thought though, because I think maybe I don't know. I need to examine it or think about it.
Well, what you're saying, Christine, no one ever has it figured out. And if they do, it changes the next second, right? And You're always going to have movement all around you, promoting you, bringing you down. And that's where confidence comes in, right? If you have some confidence, no matter what people say, you're going to take it in relationship to your confidence. If you come with insecurity and you're on the fence, and all it takes is like a feather in the wind that someone says something, all of a sudden you rethink it again after spending so much time getting it right with it. Because here's another thing I learned in life. People who love you will love you no matter what.
Right.
Yes.
And the people who don't, you shouldn't care about.
Right.
Yes.
I always say I only root for the people who root for me. Right? So I'll go to my grandkids' basketball game or my kids' anything before I'll buy a ticket to sit in Bronco Stadium with 100,000 other people like me and players making $20 million a year who don't even know I exist. Why not put that money and that time and that love with someone who will return it? Because that's what you're looking for, is being reciprocal. No one minds giving, but there's a point where, okay, I gave enough already, and I gave long enough. And now even I don't want what I gave in return, just some acknowledgement, some gratitude, some appreciation. And, there's so many companies who specialize in gifting, right? You can send somebody a dozen cupcakes every week for a month, right? What would it cost you? $40-$50? But how many people send you cupcakes every Friday with a nice note and nothing in return? So people, they step over dollars to pick up pennies. Mm-hmm. They major in the minors. They get caught up in making a judgment about the future that no one is in a position to do, and nobody should want to. Why do you want to take the fun out of it by predicting something, and by predicting it or thinking it, you manifest it? When you can just play the game as it plays out with you, right? Be in the moment with people in the moment. And, you're only here for a very short time. right? And no one guarantees anybody tomorrow,
Exactly.
right? So if someone invites you to dance, put it all out on the dance floor. Have as much fun and joy as you
I
can.
was going to mention that I can bust a move. They
Love it.
I was at some sort of party at the elementary school, and they were giving out prizes, and they had to create a best mom dancer because because of my moves. But and I did win one time the best dancer at the kindergarten friendship dance. So I'm very proud of these things. But yeah, you have to it's just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just meant to in my program of recovery, like anonymity is pretty important. So, like, I get confused, but I want people to understand that there shouldn't be a lot of shame attached, and there's so much there's just too much of a stigma, and especially in business circles, which
Yeah.
it's just very, not that you want to be professional, you don't have to like cry at somebody's shoulder, but when you make an authentic connection, meaningful connection like we do here, that's like the heart of business. When you really, I had an important meeting this week and we were going to do it on Zoom, but I'm like, we should do it. We really, especially for the initial meeting, we need to get out and meet the chief of pharmacy or whoever we're seeing in person, get to have that face-to-face connection and, understand her needs, as a person and in her role and as a company. So, I'm glad we did it because it was different than I expected. And at least I have more information if we do a follow-up meeting, like on this kind of a platform. But face-to-face is ideal. The next best thing is this kind of thing, when you can't get with Seema in Pakistan, this is the next best thing. And when I do meet people, and we've talked about this, it's such a whole brave new world when you meet people digitally. I do feel sometimes when I meet them in person, except for maybe the height factor always throws me off because everybody's sitting down.
Right.
But it's like you've met them before. If I met you, Kelly, I'd be like, oh, that's my friend Kelly. It just wouldn't. There would be like no catch up period. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and I may drop into
the person that I would be like when I meet people, if I met anyone here in person, like just know in advance, I'm a hugger. Bypassing the handshake, we're going straight to the hug. I already know. So I think it's great. You're so right about the meeting in person. You get such a different connection. And I think, as great as video chat is for this purpose, like, connecting with people all over the world is awesome. But I think it's also important to remember, and I do have clients even that I work with, that it's like, hey, we need to have a serious conversation, or, hey, we need to address this serious thing. Let's get together in person and sit down and have a conversation. Because you're right, the feeling is so much different. And it's like, I can do fine on video conferencing, but I do feel like there's still, especially when it's business facing, there's still kind of that little bit of, edited or, corporate vibe, whatever you want to call it. But in person, it always, it takes down that wall and allows you to have those, maybe harder conversations with the people. I think much more in depth, much more rich, much more towards, solution oriented and than it does on video. So I do think some people get that all mixed up. In the sense of, if you're sending me a message via, whether it's a communication through your organization, you use, a Slack, Teams, whatever it is. If you're sending someone a message that's kind of harsh or, not nice, pick up a phone. Like, I don't understand what happened to, like, you need to have these conversations because how people interpret things on, communication with text or email is so much more different than having the tone, the context behind it, because you're only being able to interpret what someone is sending by your perception. Because Don could send me something and he sent me maybe 3 words, and maybe I've not had a great day, and I read it and I'm like, oh gosh, why is he being so short with me?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna drop off, but Elizabeth wanted to show you something. She
Oh.
lost a tooth, so
Oh.
she's very
Oh my
excited.
goodness.
Oh, hope
Somebody's gonna have to
the
say
fairy
it.
is generous to you.
Yeah, what does the tooth fairy pay these days?
Yeah.
$10.
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
$10 a tooth. Yeah, it's so.
Yay.
And she's saving up. What are you saving up for?
A pair of $122 shoes.
Are they Nike?
Nike dollars.
Yeah. So,
Nike-
so she'll be doing. So she gets a $10 allowance a week for her chores. Then she's got this. So you got $20 so far. And then she asked me to create a chore list of more things she can do to earn extra money to get the shoes. So she's very entrepreneurial.
Love
Ship
it.
off the old block there. But anyway, I got to drop it. I'll still be listening.
Joining,
So,
Christine. It's always a pleasure, and good luck with
yeah,
all
you
the
too,
money.
John.
Yeah,
Okay.
take care.
Elizabeth and I thank you. I didn't know she was going to make an appearance, but all right. Anyways,
Have a great weekend. So
All right.
yeah, I think that what it shows, and let me acknowledge some people here because that's part of the
Yes.
program. Is
Yeah.
Ambola agrees that Henry Ford did say that,
Thanks. I'm glad I was right.
and Ambambola's from Nigeria, Sima's from Pakistan.
Yes.
Anne Levy here, who's from England, a wonderful lady I'd reach out and connect with. We've got Christine here from Netherlands, and it just goes on. Mario's from France, Sarah's from Spain. I mean, it just, last week we had Ambreen here from Saudi Arabia.
Amreen Nadeem.
Do you know Ambreen, Sima?
Yes. We are connected, and we are also in one of the networking group, and we keep watching each other's posts.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady, and she had her episode that she shared with actually Christine, and she loved it, and she's up to 104,000 connections and has huge reach and influence. So it's when you get together with people who now see you as something that they want to be part of, as opposed to you see somebody that you want to be part of and try to get in, where people who are already in want to come to where you are now, right? So it's like you got comedians playing in different theaters. They all kind of support each other, visit each other, kind of pick each other, or singers. So when you're good and you're yourself, no one can compete with you because there's only one you. And to Simon's earlier comment is that if you communicate what you want to communicate, that's one message to a large group. If everybody's communicating their own message, it's not going to be the same, and they're not the same person to do that. And why borrow when you can develop in yourself? And when people talk about shame, embarrassment, all that stuff, who qualifies the shame?
Right.
You. Right? Someone wrote you a letter saying you're now in shame land, until you're out of it. But you could, you have to be kind to yourself. How many times did you see families where someone is the baby of the family and is always right, always pampered, just because of their situation? But there's nothing wrong with being that to you, right? If you wished you were the favorite grandchild or you were the favorite whatever, you can be your favorite. And you have more time for yourself than anybody. And all you got to do is say, today I change. That's all you have to do. As what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to start doing that. And to Simon's point, it is a one step at a time because you should be steady along the way. You shouldn't be running nither and falling all over the place. If you were just walking on a small plank across a river, right? You would be very methodical about how you cross the river versus just jumping around and hoping you don't fall. Because you get up and now you're wet, and
It will not be a very graceful step.
Yeah, so now you're
not a graceful fall.
Well, you now are embarrassed and need a towel, so you just added one challenge to yourself, And that's why people who build with brick instead of straw, right, have something they
Yes.
can really live in and have something sustainable, because you don't want to be in the process. You don't want to always
Exactly.
be transitioning, right? You want to get to where you're going. It's like an airplane. When it's on the ground, you just, get it up and get it out and let me land versus, one time I sat on the ground and watched a whole movie on a Delta flight to Dallas because they had a lightning storm, and you're just,
No.
luckily there was a good movie. But, that's what it is if you look at
Thank
it.
goodness it was just a movie. And
One,
we were not in that storm.
one of the thing too is, if you're not here, you're there, but you're
Yeah.
always just one person somewhere. So why not choose the destination? If someone said, I'll give you 7 days somewhere, you might pick the Caribbean, but you wouldn't go to Manitoba right now, in the winter. And that's the thing, is where is it bright and sunny with people who are friendly? I
Yes.
read a guy named Earl Nightingale, and he's an
Yeah.
old timer, from the 50s. He had a radio show, and one of his things is he was only one of 100 people that survived to Arizona, you know,
Hmm.
and he had PTSD after that because he didn't think, why him? That was the hardest thing for him.
Oh.
And he ended up getting into radio with the GI Bill and getting a station. And then he had his own channel. And then he created Conant Nightingale, which was the biggest first promoters of personal development. Anyways, he's got a tape that most people couldn't take because he's got a raspy voice towards the end and everything else. But there was a story of a new person coming to a town, and the new person asked the person who was sitting on their porch, what kind of town is this? And he says, what kind of town are you from? He says, well, where I'm from, everybody's friendly and happy and they love each other. I said, well, you found the right town. And then the next guy comes and says, I'm new to this town. What kind of town is it? And he says, where are you from? Oh, the people are awful. They're miserable. They don't like each other. And he said, well, you found the right town because that's the same here, right? Because
Oh
of
my
what you're
God.
expecting and that's what you're used to.
Yep.
You'll figure a way to get into that group versus getting into the group that could maybe help you. But the other benefit besides blessing ourselves, forgiving ourselves maybe earlier than most people would, and that's the key. When you fall down, I mean, you see NASCAR, the pit stop is everything, right? The idea is get in and get out. You
Yes.
don't hang around and have a conversation, have a hamburger, and then get
Don't
back
live
in the race. Yeah, and it's the same thing when you need help. When you need to
Yes.
pull in the pit, right? You need tires or gas or whatever it is. You want to get back in the game. And that's the point.
Yes.
Falling down is good if you can learn to get
Yeah.
up after every time you fall down.
Yeah.
So
And here's the group that keeps repeating it, and repetition makes reputation. And I guarantee you, Sima and Kelly, is the #1 rated show this week, on Thursday. And why is that? Because Kelly's now becoming a personality, right? In the best way possible. People are getting to know her, knowing what to expect. Sima, what you did today with yourself, I talked with the lady last night. This will live on for 30, 40, maybe 100 years. You don't know who will see this. Maybe it'll just put a smile on somebody's face. Maybe it'll be the day I decide enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Or you get to the point I have nothing to lose, right? Nothing could be worse than where I am. I'll tell you another funny story. Early days, I took the family everywhere. I was able to, so trade shows everywhere. They always had activities. So one time I went to San Francisco, and I took I didn't know what I was doing. I took the trolley, and I was going to get some Chinese food. So I went to Chinatown, and had a good meal. And then I okay, I got to get a trolley back to where I was staying at the pier. But nobody spoke English. And for the first time in my life, I'm in America. and I just got to know what trolley to get on. And I keep going up to strangers and they're talking Chinese to me. And then I got nervous because, and it got dark, so now it's dark. And I just decided I'm just getting on the next trolley because anywhere I go, someone's going to be able to speak to me. And as it turned out, every trolley goes to the same place all the time. So
to make matters worse. So Don is going from the frying pan into the fire.
Well, I can get over things so well because I engage in those kind of things so many times. I go off into places or things and I forget where I came from and don't always know how to get back to it. But there's a saying, if you're not working on the edge, you're taking up too much space, and the edge is where you see the whole view of things.
Mm-hmm.
And, once you've been in the front, you like staying in the front, but not because you're entitled, because you're willing to show I can do even more. When I talk about ageism, I mean, who is matching my work ethic? 1,000 days without missing a day of posting?
Nobody.
So when it comes to
Not me.
and the beauty of it is, I'm sure if I can do it, you can do it, right? But more importantly, there should be no discrimination. It should just be observation, right? It's not who you are, where you come from, what you believe in. It's what are you doing today to help yourself and to help somebody else along the way. And I knew by investing in people like Sima and Kelly, what the dividends could be someday, because if you got the money, you want to put it to work, right? You want to invest in things. If you've got the knowledge and you've got the time and the intention, right? You have an obligation to share it because, it's overflowing, right? If you had food that just kept getting more, you'd be inviting bigger groups to take advantage of it, knowing that they're doing you a favor because they're allowing you to flex your muscles. And it's like, wait, I started out with a LinkedIn Live. I added a whole, it's like, are you comfortable at this level? Okay, let's going to put 20 more pounds up, until you get so strong of mind and spirit, because that's the differential. Before it's like, how many places can you go? How many people, it's all quantity of action. Now it's what can you contribute and do it in a way that someone says, hey, wow. You want to earn that wow factor, and from people who know what wow is, right? And are still stretching themselves, because that's when they want to get to know you, is like, how do you do it? And that's what we talked about. And that's what this whole program is built on, is stories, right? How did you do it? I got to know. And it's not to copy you. It's just because I got, it's intriguing, right? If someone says they crossed the Atlantic in 2 days on a boat, somebody would say, well, how did it work? How did that happen? Because I want it to happen. And now, more importantly, just like what Simon's saying, Kelly and Christine today, it's all open. What we're pulling for is a treasury within ourselves. It's not like the lotto where so much money was put in, so much money is going to get distributed. All of the value you're creating is not coming from the outside. It's not coming from anybody else. It's saying, I got it in me. Why would I want to steal something? Why would I want to cheat somebody or sell somebody? Because first of all, you're doing bad stuff to yourself while you're doing bad stuff to others.
Amen.
And then to the other point, it becomes entitlement. It's not new. And then it becomes, how edgy can we get on something bad, right? And I think that's the thing, is once you identify exactly what feeds your soul, and so many people have never had that. They've had some of it for a little bit of time. But when you can wake up and say, I can't wait for this day. And when you go to sleep,
Yes.
you can say, boy, what a blessing this was. And tomorrow's going to get even better. You know, when the future keeps getting brighter as you keep
Yes.
approaching it, you're the best person in the world for people who aren't there, right? And maybe you can get there. And it's so gratifying to know that what me and Simon had, and no one gives anybody anything, everybody exchanges something.
Mhm.
No one should have too much gratitude, right? They should have enough, you know, but it should also be them too, right? They should get to the point where equality is attained fast, right? Because you want everybody to be free. You want everybody to be safe, especially if they're with you. You know, how many times you think of in the morning, someone's going through a winter storm, right? I hope to get through it, right? And be safe. But anyways, I know we're a little bit over time. I don't mind as much on weekends because I'm not as conscious as top of the hour. And, you know, Dean's here. Dean's always here. You know, you know, you look at Jody Shaddad. She's been coming. That's great. Susanna is brand new. I haven't seen her.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, and every day you pick up one or two, three, and they bring somebody. And, you know, things 5 to get 5 to get 5 will get you 125, but 20 times their network, times their influence. And, you know, that's the beauty of letting people see it, feel it, and experience for themselves, because at that point, they're the best referral you can have. Mm-hmm. Right? Versus you don't have to think, I already thought for you. You just got to do and all that stuff. And people get away with it. And a lot of people, I'll be honest, shouldn't be where they are. I know a lot of people talk about employment. I know that a lot of people hiring are not qualified to find the best people. And to be honest, some people aren't even looking for the best people. Yep. They're looking for the best people for them.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Who can do more work, right? Who can not take their job. You know, sometimes people find limiting people because they know they'll never be promoted beyond where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. You know, and until you're the owner of the company, who would then have only the best interests of the company and themselves in mind, would you get fairness? And that's why a lot of family businesses at times do pretty well. But again, it's the person. And, you know, you should be interviewing the interviewer, because in more cases than not, you're not going to get the job anyways, right? But you should be able, like Simon says and like Kelly says, to stand up for yourself. You know, if someone's insulting, they should know that. You know, they should, and you don't have to be insulting back. I would just say, I don't understand why you said what you said. Can you explain that to me? You know,
right. I think, you know, it's interesting, Don, because just to piggyback on that, I know for me, I mean, the interviewing the interviewer is always imperative. You need to know, is this a place I want to be? Now, granted, I know there's times in our lives where it's like, well, this isn't really ideal, but I need a job and I've got to take something, but I can continue to look elsewhere because maybe this isn't a good fit for me. I know that I'm in a place where it matters to me who I surround myself with. I want people who, you know, I can bring value to them. And like you said earlier, and vice versa, like it should be a mutual thing. But it's interesting with when you interview the interviewer, you don't want to tolerate anything that is not going to be good for you, or like I said, add value to you. I did a little bit lose train of thought there. But I think it's so important to do that, and to go to your point about standing up for yourself. I'm at a place now in my life, I've learned so much being in business and dealing with, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I know when someone, you know, is coming at me, as an example, having a conversation or is being rude, whatever it is, I'm able to sit in a space where I know it's about them. It has nothing to do with me. And it doesn't bother me at all, in the sense of, I'm not carrying your stuff. I know you're projecting some pain, hurt, whatever you've got going on, you're projecting it onto me. I choose not to carry it. And I really wish I would have learned that when I was much younger. I really feel like, oh my gosh, like they're really mad at me, and I would be upset by it. But now I see it in such a different way. I look at them and can understand, and it goes back to the whole empathy and compassion. I see that they're hurt and they're in pain. It doesn't excuse the behavior. It just helps me understand it, and for me to be like, okay, well, I'm going to retain where I'm at, because I actually, when people get in a heightened place or are coming at me in an aggressive manner, I oddly now get very peaceful and almost like zen, because I'm in a space of like, I need to hold my place and my peace, because I'm not going to let this disrupt it. And I think it's a gift we give ourselves to know, like, hey, that when they're mad or they're doing something, it's about them. It has 0, 0, 0 to do with you, right? What do you think, Saima?
I think to continue with what you are saying, that we don't have to give our powers to someone else. What is our power? Our power is my peace of mind, my heart, my clear mind, and what you think is none of my business.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So I don't know if somebody is harsh, like you said, maybe he had a bad day. It shouldn't matter to me. You had a bad day. It shouldn't come up on me, and I shouldn't put that burden on my heart or my mind. I shouldn't be disrupting my mind because someone else is at an ugly space right now.
Yes.
I need to save my mind from going to that negative immersion. I need to preserve my mind from that, and I need to work my mind for myself to get better, to be at peace, and to work on myself and give my better version to the world.
Yeah.
And not be an ugly person to someone else because I was at that point in a negative zone or something like that. I don't need to rot my heart because someone else had given me a bad experience. And things like these we get to learn with time.
Well, you know,
Like Kelly said, that maybe if only we had learned it in a very early age or early stage, maybe much of our heart was not burdened for a very long time. But that is life.
right.
If we have learned it today, learn
good.
it today and keep it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
well, you know, that's
At
so.
least we are clean now.
Yeah. The thing is people are now saying it and hearing it with conviction, right?
Yes.
I mean, Simon's saying what Kelly's saying is rock solid, and I guarantee you they'll respond the way they just said they would when something is like this. And you know, the other thing, power can't be taken unless it's given.
Right.
Yes.
Right? You
Yes.
own your power. No one else does. No one else controls it unless you let them. Right? If you let them take
Exactly.
what's, you know, your God-given right to happiness, to success. These are not
Yes.
things you should wonder, can I achieve? What
No.
you should figure is, who and how do I get there? Right?
Yes.
I can deliver the work. I can deliver the thought. And to Simon's point, which I think is so important today, start with where you are, with what you got and who you're with, and start moving towards where you want to be. Right? So bless everything you got, because like I say, I'm always happy, never satisfied. If all I have is all I have, I'm so grateful, but I'm always open to work harder and earn
Yes.
it, because there's so many people that say, I need this, I want this. And when it comes down to, do you deserve it? Right? Anybody can wish for something, but are you up to it? Can you support it? Can you take care of it? And why go big when it's easy to go small and build? Another thing is, if this journey is to your higher self, your better self, enjoy the ride. Where's the fire? Right? As you start accumulating friends like Saima or Poonam or any of these people, they're going to be lifelong. I mean, it shows you with Saima, it took 2-3 years to circle back, but we found each other, right? And we never lost each other. We were just there. And it's like when someone says, if you need me, I'll be there. And the way you prove it is you have a need or they have a benefit. And now I want to bless people, because here's the really cool thing. If you hit the right note, all of a sudden 50 people can graduate to that note right at once, because the door's wide open here. You know, it's not my house or Kelly's house or your house. It's our house. And that's why this is such a good family, because we don't let anybody come in and destroy our happy home. Right? If you got a happy home and a happy family, the next person comes in's got to be a compliment or an addition, not a distraction, not a negative. And it is, everybody is one toggle away from leaving the family. You know, and that's all it takes. You're not on the show. You know, you can't talk anymore. And everybody knows you. And eventually people will protect each other by saying, you got to really meet this person, or hey, if a person approaches you, be real thoughtful, right? And that's one more way of confirming your commitment, because there's so many people who watch who could have helped.
Yes.
There's so many people who fell and people walk right by them, right? Or make like they don't see them. And what if you were that person, right? What if you could be helped and someone decided that's a waste of my time? Because that shows person's lost their humanity, right? Person just looks at people as things or worse, and treats people as things or worse. And no one should tolerate it, because there's so many people who aren't like that. And, you know, if your only exposure, and if you count up all the family you have, all the friends and relations you have, it's not that many compared to how big the universe is or the population. So if you got 30 or 40, whatever it is, right? The key is now building your family from where you are. So, you know, I hope that by spending so much time, and these LinkedIn Lives are an hour plus, versus some people do a LinkedIn Live for 10, 12 minutes. And I was like that. So that's where I had to start. If someone was said do an hour, can you imagine sitting in front of a screen for an hour by yourself with no audience? I mean, you know, you find out no one's showing up. You know, if you go to a picnic and you're the only one, there is no more picnic. You know, it's you and your work.
My God.
But that's the fun of it, is laugh at your losses as fast as you can.
Yes.
Celebrate your wins as long as you can. I mean, stretch something out. I mean, and before COVID, people would used to go to dinner and spend 3-4 hours around the table.
Yes.
Right? Start at 6, and you know, you do this, and then you'd wait for food, and then you'd hang out. Now it's like a guy sneezes, give me my bill, right? You know, but here it's wide open, and it's loving. You know, I mean, Christina's right back, right, making comments. You know, so a lot of times when people insult you, like Kelly said, it's more about the other person. I'm big on not harboring any anger. It's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. You know, and that's really so important, is when you're around people who say the same thing you want to hear, you like to hear, and you're talking about, that gives you fortification. You know, it's like building with steel, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, no, Poonam likes me, Christine likes me, Simon likes me, they all tell me so. They all point out.
At least you have 3 votes here right away.
If you're going with 3 votes into an election, the one vote that votes against you doesn't really count. It doesn't even measure. But if that's the only vote you take today, you know, and they say, you know, having a poll of 1 is not a very strong poll, you know, is get more people who will vote for you. You know, what do politicians do? They go for people who like them. They go for people who want to support them. They don't go for people who are against them. They like to convert people, but that's where you want to do, is go to your friends, not the people who you don't know. You know, a stranger, like we talked about, could be somebody you've been with all your life. and they're still a stranger, right? So proximity, the amount of time, and some people come into your life for 10 minutes and make a profound difference, right? And you'll never see them again. You never knew where they came from, but it could have been the person we talk about in the grocery line that has vegetables and needs $2 more to eat tonight. And somebody in the line says, "Here, take my $2, and not so you can push along and get me out of here, but because you see reasons to help. And, $1, $2, $5 to someone who has nothing, right, is special. I talk about my daughter. She has all these care packages that she keeps in her car. And it's like a drink, a healthy nutritional bar and $5, a bill, and maybe she'll give away 1 or 2 a day. And what's it going to cost her? $5, $10, a Starbucks, but the smile on that person's face, the humanity that says $5, I can go to Burger King now. I can eat a real lunch instead of these, whatever. That makes character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And pretty soon, I had a great guy from Pakistan that worked for me, and he was from Punjab. And he started out as just a clerk in the store, Within a year, he was running the e-commerce area. And he went from $10 an hour to $125,000 a year. And it was only because, and I'm sure I could have gave him 15 an hour and 20 and stretched out. He would have been thrilled. But everybody got what they earned, right? It didn't matter where you came in, what you started as, what can you do now, and what's it worth to us? Right? And create your own opportunity, and share in it. There's too many.
Don, you value the human. You're not looking for someone just to create, higher margins for you. You're a business owner that I feel like is such a blessing to who works for you, because they don't work for you, they work with you. And it's the way that you approach them. And I love that. I mean, because you're right. You could have paid him a lot less and he would have been happy as a clam. But you never consider that. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I believe that is why that you are successful in what you do in life, because you give to people and treat people on a human level, not as someone to fulfill, part of the cog in the wheel of your business. So, I mean, it speaks such volumes for you and your integrity and how you approach the world. And I just think it's beautiful. And that's why people are attracted to you, because everybody can feel it. What do you think?
Go ahead, Simon.
And we have again came round the circle, as I had talked about earlier, that wherever we go, whatever we do, and however high-end technology we get, at the end of the day, what matters is you being a human to one and other, to each other. And that is what matters the most.
Well, I think to kind of put it all together, I've seen how long it takes for people to, blossom.
Yes.
Right. And you want to nurture them. If you have plants, you want to keep them watered. If you have pets, you want to keep them fed. But you want to do it in a way that shows them you're doing more than most people would, because you see something that most people might not, or you're willing to even get right down with them, shoulder to shoulder, and help them. The gentleman's name actually was Ali, and I kind of adopted him in a way, because he was so hardworking and he was so respectful. And to the last day that we worked together, he would never talk to me without saying Mr. Don. Wherever I was, I told him, Ali, just call me Don. He said, no, I have to call you Mr. Don, right? And, he was just voracious with tapes I would give him. I started with Brian Tracy, and kept, because he loved that stuff. And all of a sudden he started to change, and he got more like me, even though when he came here, what he had to go through was not something very positive. Right? I mean, at one point he was working Wendy's. No, he was working at Taco Bell for 8 hours, and then a gas station job for 8 more hours.
Wow.
Right? Because he had to send money back to the family.
Mm.
Right? So he had 2 jobs, 16 hours a day, and everything in between. He had to take care of himself. But it just shows you what someone can do. And when you have somebody who's conditioned like that, who already comes in with muscles and desire, it's just let them loose, I mean, just let them go, and they find themselves. So not only have I learned that it works, but it works for everybody involved, right? If you never make a lot of money, but your heart is always full and you're joyful for the people you're around, and if you spend all your time helping those people, you don't have time to go on vacations or do a lot of stuff, because the vacation is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vacation when you feel I'm overworked, I'm stressed out, but when you're happy spending this much time that used to be spent doing something that didn't pay you well, didn't have a future for you, I'm grateful. I mean, I would run to do this show anywhere I was at every day. Continue to streak to have, but also to be with all these people. I mean, if you look at people like Paul, they're almost like cousins.
Yeah.
And some people are like aunts and uncles here. And some people are even grandparents to people here because they already are that. So why not,
That's right.
get rid of the definition of were you a family member or an adopted member? And either member should get the same love, and sometimes even more because they're not used to you. Sometimes your family is the worst people because there's a saying, my mother would have bought something from you and not me, and your mother would have bought something from me and not you, because they know each other too well, and they can say no to somebody they've been used to saying no to. And when you learn that, that the reason there's not more is more people aren't opening doors and having doors open from the same people. So we're going to have to wrap it up. I'll in there, it just builds character. I always say obstacles are a test to see how committed you are to your goals. That's a good point, Paul. And here's another thing, is when people think they're giving too much, they probably are.
Mm-hmm.
But if people have so much to give, they probably aren't, worried about giving. It's like, I got so much here. I mean, if you ever, when I had to bring my mother into our house, and we were caregivers for the last couple of years, and it was a challenge, but it was the most gratifying time I ever had in my life. Because every day I would think, when people would always tell you can't travel, you can't really go, you can't leave her, right? Someone had to be with her. And I said, what would you give for another day with your mother?
Anything.
Right? And I have my mother for another day. So I'm going to give her that day. Because one day she's not going to be here. And I know that. And when you know that, it's like, okay, it's her time. Because she doesn't have a lot of time. I have time. So if you're full and someone's hungry, you want to give them the food, right? Not because it's, it's yours and you own it and you control it, but it gives you a better person to yourself that helps even the people who are already around you. And, there's something to people being proud of you. There's somebody, how a relative comes up, and Kelly, I never told you this before, but, you're so special, right? Even though you know the person. That is like speaks volumes, especially from people who are not that vocal, not that open sometimes, and you find older people get a little bit softer. They say women turn out to be more like men and men turn out to be more like women as they get older, because this gruff old guy is all of a sudden crying at everything and, petting his little chihuahua on the porch and, So, there's so much good. There's so much love. There's so much laughter. We should all admit that,
Yes.
accept that, and know the difference from what it feels like from someone who isn't to someone who is. And it's like, I'm tired of sitting out in the rain without an umbrella when there's a really warm place there with a lot of nice people that I could be at. And hopefully this builds bridges. That's what this show is going to be, is get
Yes.
more.
And I love bridges.
Yeah, bring people together, take people to different lands, not walls, So if we can replace
Yes.
more walls with more bridges and safely bring people across. I mean, because
Yes.
every one of your stories, Sima or Kelly, there's 1 million, 10 million people with the identical situation or story that they've been through, going through, or plan to go through. And boy, if anybody could have saved Kelly a year or two, or me a year or two, I would have been indebted for the rest of my life for throwing me a life preserver. So with that final word, Simon, it's been great having you on. It just shows you what open mic could do, because this whole thing was driven by everybody who was here, both in audience and screen. So what do you think, Simon?
I loved it, Dawn, and I'm so thankful that I saw your message and I hopped on.
We are too.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I did not miss it today.
Well, good, because I know your last message is, when is this? After I sent you the, I said 43 minutes.
I was worried. I got worried. I thought, am I going to miss it? Did I miss the time? Because I had checked that message. I think after half an hour or so. So I got worried. Maybe I'm just going to miss this show, and I just didn't want to do that.
No, and we would have really missed you too if you would have missed the show. So know that to be true. Kelly, this was quite a show, huh?
Yes. I mean, you know me, I love it. Like it's almost like I can't get enough of it. It does. I've had people ask me, like, on my name, I have a flower at the end of it. And one of the reasons, one, it stands out when it gets posted, but two, it's because I view life as like, I'm a flower that continues to bloom. And I feel like I'm just blooming here, and I love it so much. I'm so grateful that I get to share so much with so many amazing people. I do want to give a little shout out to Mbimbola, because she did make a comment. She was looking for some branding things, and I helped her yesterday, and it was absolutely my honor and pleasure to be able to help. So I'm just so grateful and honored, and what a great way to start the day. So thanks so much for being here, Simon, and I look forward to having you back. And what are your final words, Dawn? And I will see everyone tomorrow as well. Christy will be here with us.
Yeah, that'd be great. And Gretchen's here back on Monday. I think this was terrific. I'm so happy Simon and Christine picked up on it, and maybe that encourages other people. I did invite Mbimbola and Paul and a few other people, but that's the nice thing, is when you're feeling comfortable, when you want to know everybody that you're invited. And Simon, if you would have missed today, you would have had more of an opportunity probably tomorrow or the next day, because we wouldn't let you go with people getting to know you. And they say the camera really loves certain people, and I think it loves both of you, because it really, in the best way possible, because you're kind of already there when you get on, right? You don't have to grow to be something to be who you are when you're a show. You just bring what you are.
No.
And people, I guarantee you, including yourself, Kelly, if you look back a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, who you were and conversations were, but that's the nice thing, is it just shows you we're in the preliminaries. There's a lot more growth. There's a lot more value and strength we can build into this. And why not go for the moon?
That's right. Like I said, I know I've said this many times before. I'm like, we have only just begun. Like, I know that this is just, we're going to continue. I don't know where it's going to go, but I love the ride, and I'm so here for it.
Well, that's what makes the ride so good, is when it's over, everybody wants to do it again. You're better than a roller coaster. You're scared out of your mind, and it's like, let's get back in line. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know why that is. Not for me anymore. That's for sure. Watching people. But thank you again. Thank you, audience. We'll be back tomorrow with Kelly and Christy and Sima. You'll be an open invitation to enter open mic anytime. So you know,
Okay. Yay.
put buy yourself something nice today. So
Oh.
I give you.
This is the best I could get today.
Oh, that's even better, right? Because everybody is
Yeah.
naturally responsive in their own natural way, right? No one has
Yes.
to think, what am I going to say to that? Or what do I have
Yeah.
to say? Versus this is just how I feel, right? And
Yeah.
people see that. And that's why I mentioned that. But anyways, thank you again. We could be forever, but 23 hours from now, we'll be back or less. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye for now.